Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Nerdrunners. I'm Mark.
And I'm Stef. Hi, Mark.
Hi Stef, how you been?
Not good. Not good. The last time we spoke, I'd been sick, and then the sickness came back, and I was running a ridiculously high fever.
I remember you saying you'd imagine you some kind of Raja or something like that.
Yeah, so you know what's really good at 2 in the morning when you're really, really, really hot and delusional and dreaming that you are stuck in the British Raj?
No, I don't. What's good at that time?
It's building horrible decks. I spent the hours between 2 and 6 just on Netrunner DB, just like, yeah, this will work. And then looked at it in the cold light of day going, what was I thinking? What was I? And then, yeah, went from there. But it's cool. I got a few interesting concoctions out of it. How about you? How have you been?
Not too bad. Horrendously busy at work, and I think I'm coming down with something. Maybe I'll be hallucinating. I'm in a similar situation to you, building horrendous Twilight decks in the Raj. But
I should have called them Twilight decks. It's a segment I should publish on the site. The Twilight decks.
The delusional decks built by Stefan after 2 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like the those crappy radio shows where you guys like, and now coming in at 2:37 a.m. It's Stefan on the Stefan's radio show.
So, why am I so hot? Why am I in the Raj? Ooh, E3 feedback.
I won't have a bad word said against E3 feedback.
It's just that I keep putting them in things that I don't need to put them in. Like my stealth deck doesn't need E3 feedback implants.
I remember you telling me that. I was just like,
it's the dumbest thing I've ever done. I took that to the tournament, and I was there, and the guy was like, "Oh, you're running a stealth breaker suite. Why do you even have that in there?" And I was like, "I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to have in my deck."
See, this is why we're such good friends, because at one point I also put E3 feedback implants into a stealth deck that I was building before realizing they don't need to be here. Yeah. At least I didn't go to a tournament level with it, but I had the same kind of, I know what'll make stealth better. E3? Oh, wait.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, wait, oh yeah, of course, it's just
Switchblade breaks everything.
Yeah. Oh man, Switchblade. I love the fear on people's face, especially an NBM player, when you're like, oh, okay, Switchblade, silencer, you'll go. And it's like, oh no, what do I do?
I just throw all these sentries away, I guess.
It's just, I ended up with so many, because I had that and I had cloaks, and just the stealth, all the stealth credits. Yeah. It was like, okay, well I can do this. I'm like, yeah, but I only need to use stealth credits occasionally with other ones, so it's like, yeah, my refractor's fine, just like, I'll pay this, and then I'll just take this 1 credit from over here. Oh, and the Ghost Runner as well.
Yes.
Which is just funny. Just recur the Ghost Runner, which led to someone saying to me, how many ghosts do you have on your side? So I'm naming it the Scooby-Doo deck, and nice. I'm putting it away forever.
It's done its thing.
Well, yeah, kind of. I didn't really. Lost every single game bar 1.
What other decks have you been playing recently?
From the Twilight decks, I finally managed to pull out some kind of semblance of a Chaos Theory deck, because ever since I went to the tournament and I got my little alt art Chaos Theory card, which I love and it's so pretty, I wanted to do a deck, but you know me, I am a terrible Shaper player because it requires entirely too much thought. We were discussing this just before the podcast started. Yeah. I'm far too aggressive to be a Shaper. Like, Shaper requires some kind of consideration of what your next step is, where it's like, just get all the money and run. Don't care. Run.
See, in my mind, Shaper is like playing 3D chess. And Anarch is just like walking up to someone's chess game in the park and just knocking over all the pieces.
Flipping the table and mugging them.
Yeah.
Give me that goddamn pawn and your wallet. I'm out of here.
And just throwing down the Kaisa cards and you're out.
Yeah. This is how Brooks work, right? I just put them on the pawn. And now everything on this line is plus something strength.
Yeah, it's so strange that the Anarch's got the Kaisas when it seems quite opposite
I think it's wonderful just because it's like that dichotomy.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of, oh yeah, we've got this terrorist woman who's really good at chess.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of makes sense, I guess.
I guess you can imagine Raina sitting behind a desk playing like email chess with someone.
No, it's when she's in jail and it's like in a book and they're just like sending it between them during library time. It's just like chess moves all the way down the front of the book. Like, yeah, this. Now I'm doing this. But no, I built a Chaos Theory deck, which is exclusively built around Overmind, and kind of throwing together a lot of money with cyber feeders and then putting together lots of memory with. I think I'm in love with Boxy. That's my like. It's mainly the way it breaks down is like 3 Boxies, 3 Cyber Solutions mem chips, 3 Akamatsu mem chips, just for all the memory.
Yeah.
And then feedback implants because obviously, and then HQ R&D interfaces, cyber feeders for cash, Katie Jones, and then you just throw them onto personal workshops and just get them out. It's like get lots of money, run. Okay, done.
I played against someone who had a double event Chaos Theory deck, and it is the scariest thing when you think you have a fantastic scoring window and they power nap for 10 credits and run on you. That was a really good, a really good deck for them to play, but also just terrifying for me to play against because they would routinely go down to no credits, and I think, great scoring window. I've got like 2 ice on this server. It's great, and oh wait, no, they've got all their money now with power nap. Never mind.
Yeah, damn. I do love the art on power nap as well.
Yeah.
So I tell you, some of the art on these cards. Again, 2 a.m, high on high on drugs, good drugs. Not like sorry, I've dug myself a hole here. High on substances to help the fever and
sim hacking yourself.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at art online going, oh, this is really pretty. Oh, this is really pretty. Like Trick of Light, I think I must have stared at it in like a haze for about 10 minutes. It's like, oh, this is shiny. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. I've also been trying to build and play a PPK deck, which does require a lot of thought. I'm not particularly happy with how it works.
Is that prepaid Kate?
Yes, sorry.
I've heard that abbreviation for prepaid Ken as well, so I was just
Yeah, it's prepaid Kate. It's a traditional all the prepaid voice pads in all the events. I just carry on. Really. Lots of lucky finds in there and everything like that. But anyway, that's all right. It's just not for me. I just think it's not good. I understand it's good in the hands of someone who knows the deck, but I just can't get on with it. And then on the corpse side, I built a Tag Storm, Meat Damage, Horrible Near Earth Hub deck because I'm a terrible person. And online, it's been getting nearly 100%. I think I've only lost 1 with it, and that was due to lucky draws from them, from from R&D. Which focuses around all the tags and then Scorched Earth and Traffic Accident. And then I've thrown in a couple of Reclamation Orders, which just means you can get all those cards back.
One thing that I keep hearing about from people in my meta is about using a Traffic Accident before a Scorched Earth, and that way you get to make sure that they're not going to recover from a I've Had Worse in hand. Because if you Scorch them before and take out an I've Had Worse, they obviously draw back up. Whereas if you Traffic Accident and don't hit and I've Had Worse, then you're free to Scorch and just destroy them. Which I think is a really interesting strategy.
It is. It's pretty cool.
And
what about you? What have you been playing?
I've given a bit of a rest to the dedicated response team Near Earth Hub deck.
Heathen.
I was kind of growing a little bit bored with it. To be honest, I was winning maybe 90% of the games, which sounds like such a little brag, but no, it's like it was just a good deck, and I was bored with it.
Dangerously close to tier 1.
We won't have any tier 1 talk on this podcast.
Don't you say those words to me. Yeah, it is. It's a very effective deck. It's just it does get into the realms of kind of just plays itself after a while.
It's exactly what I was just going to say. Yeah, like I got to the point where it's like, okay, put my pad out, put my turtle backs out. Let's just keep installing assets. Make sure I've got my dedicated response teams ready. Make sure that I can tag them with mid-seasons. Let's sacrifice this agenda here because now I need to give them tags. And yeah, it became really formulaic. And I don't know, I got a little bit bored of it. It was because every game was more or less the same. It was either I score out an Astro script naked. and then just start the Astro Train and then finish it off with a Too Good to Be True that's just been on the board forever that no one ran on, or I just destroy them with dedicated response team. But I'm a really nice player about it because I played one of the last matches I played. They ran on me to try and get an agenda, and I dedicated response team, and they went down to 0 cards. And then like, oh, for my last click, I'm going to run that remote, thinking it was like the Astro script and or thinking it was an agenda that was going to win them the game. I was like, you do realize if you complete this run, you will die because of my dedicated response teams. It was like, oh, maybe I won't run then. It's like, okay, cool. So I think I'm a bit too nice with that deck, rather than just letting them face plant into the meat damage without them with them forgetting. But I've been giving Replicating Perfection another go, but this time with Grail Ice, because the Grail Ice is fantastic and the best thing ever, and I love Grail Ice.
You sound like me talking about NEH.
Well, the best thing about it is that ever since Dan Darginio won Worlds with Replicating Perfection, it became really, really big in most metas, including mine. And
mine too.
It was basically the same build, give or take maybe a couple of cards. It became the Replicating Perfection deck. Like, if you're going to play one, this is the one. You don't really need to change any cards. This is the deck you need to play. And the best thing about having Grail in there is that they'll put their Sentry Breaker out, thinking, oh, Kamainus and Pups and Sarugis, and then they hit a Galahad and you show them a Merlin and then a Lancelot, and that's just ruined their day because you take away the Sentry Breaker. The only issue I've been having at the moment with it is I run Celebrity Gift because I didn't want to run Medical Research Fundraiser because it's a taxing deck. I don't really want to give them 3 credits when they could do with 3 credits. Yeah. But I don't want to I can't really use Celebrity Gift early because then I may reveal I have Grail in hand. And typically they don't run enough early to see any Grail that I put out. So it's like I don't want to ruin that surprise that they're going to hit some Grail Ice. But I do run 3 snares in the deck, so late game when my hand is full of snares, and then I have like a Future Perfect and a Nisei in hand, and I just Celebrity Gift. It's like, if you want to come in and try not to hit a snare, go ahead.
It's almost rude not to when you're engine techie, isn't it?
It's true, and it did win me a couple of games, like one on Tuesday night. I left my R&D open because I was so concerned with trying to get a Sunju out on my first turn. And they took a Nisei, they ran again. They hit a snare, and it was... they took a fetal, ran again, took a snare, hit the snare. I was like, oh, okay,
shake hands done.
Yep, that was the game in like two moves. It was great. But I did have a game where a guy was running, just constantly hitting my HQ. I don't think I'd managed to get any... Oh no, he parasited away my Kamainu, who left my HQ open. But I had 2 snares and an Excalibur in hand, so I wasn't really worried about him running on my HQ. And he ran, and he saw the Excalibur, and he ran again, he saw the Excalibur. I was like, okay, right, he's got nothing but Excaliburs in hand. So I spent a turn, I got my mana to draw for my next turn, and it was the 3rd snare. And obviously I couldn't ice up HQ because I was saving the Excalibur, for a reason I'll talk about in a moment. And he ran 3 more times and saw the Excalibur 3... Like, he missed 3 snares in my hand. 3 times.
Sounds great to me.
He eventually...
He's a lucky man.
Very lucky. He eventually planted into one. And I was like, oh, so you don't just have Excaliburs in hand. It's like, yep, there's some dangerous things in here too. But at
that point, I'd tell him, it's like, you ran 3 times and my hand was full of snares.
At that point, I did tell him because I Celebrity Gifted shortly afterwards. I was like, this is what you were running on and missed. But yeah, I'm using Excalibur as I'm putting it over my scoring remote. I'm trying to keep it in hand to use as a subroutine for the other Grail early game. But for late game, I'm trying to put it over my scoring server, which typically has a Caprice and an Ash in it. The theory being, and it's worked a number of times now, that when it comes down to the final agenda, they run that server, I res the Excalibur, which they hadn't known was on there. They have to pass through it because they don't have any AI breakers. Then I'll either stop their run with Caprice or Ash, or possibly even a banked Nisei counter. They can't run again, and then next turn I score out the final agenda and win the game. And it's won me like 3 games doing that. It's like such a mean way to win. Like they think they have the game. It's like, oh great, you put 2 counters. That's a Future Perfect. I'm going to take 3 points. And it's like, actually, you're not allowed to run for the rest of this turn. I'm going to score that out next turn, and I win. Sorry.
But so you say sorry honestly there, and I'd be like, sorry.
I don't know, it feels a little cheap way to win, but I do. It's really fun though. I'm really enjoying Grail in Replicating Perfection. It's a lot of fun, and I've got because Merlin's in there. I kind of shied away from NAPD and put Fetal in instead because I was like, let's give this deck a bit of teeth, and because the way I've seen Replicating die in the videos I've watched online tend to be deep digs into R&D because again this goes back to Dan D'Argenio, like they know the teeth comes from the ice. Whereas I've made sure that R&D and potentially my hand has the ability to net damage them as well. So it just stops those. Like I say, when they hit the Fetal and then hit the snare and then that was game. Just to kind of prevent people from just getting really lucky from really, really digging into it. But I've been really enjoying that deck. It's won me a good couple of games, and I love the Grail Ice until next Gold comes out, and the Grail Ice migrates into my next Foundry Grail deck.
Has next Gold been confirmed? Or is it still spoilerific?
I think it's still spoilerific, but it's been all but confirmed for the first pack of Sansan. So there's nothing official yet, but
I'm really hoping it's terrible. Everyone's like, "Oh, next Gold, next." Oh, well, back to Grail Ice. Yeah, I'm kind of... I dislike Replicating Perfection just because I've played against it so much and I get very bored facing off against the same old decks. It's the same reason, like, I like playing Aeroth Hub, but at the minute, playing against it is just like, alright, I get it, you're fast advance, good. I'm still gonna win. Like, it's not... it's not a problem for me to just jump in and take your shit.
Yeah.
Because I was told the last time I played that I run... without any care at all. So the threats that they put down, I just don't think about.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I just stuck this down there and you just ran straight into it. It's like, yeah, well, I don't care. Like, I can survive it.
Yeah.
What's a bit of brain damage? I'll just take it. But yeah, I like the idea of Replicating Perfection. I think I get sore because it's just like, it's the one thing I really struggle to run against. It's like, alright, it's just constantly people reminding me, it's like, you can't do that. Like, yeah, alright, fine, whatever. I'll just run here instead and then I'll run there. And it's like, oh, well, you should learn. It's like, shut up. Don't tell me what to do until I'm finished.
I'll run where I want, even if I'm not allowed
where
to.
I want, when I want. I don't care about your rules. You're the man. So yeah, I'm an alcohol heart. Anyway, what about Corpse Side? Not Corpse Side, Runner Side.
Well, just before I get to Runner Side, I put together and played my first ever fast advance deck. I've never.
Oh god.
Well, I decided based on
how did that work out for you?
Well, a guy called Rupert at our meetup said that he was the week before last. He's like, "Oh, I'm playing Fast Advance before Clot and everything else comes out to ruin Fast Advance." And he'd never played it before, and I was like, "Yeah, maybe I should give it a go." But he was playing out of Near Earth Hub, and I thought I'd give The World Is Yours asterisk a try because I was like, "Oh, maybe it could be interesting." Six card hand is phenomenal, by the way. It makes me want to put Research Station into all my decks now. Just have a 7-card hand. Because you feel so good if you have one agenda and then 5 pieces of ice or 5 operations or something like that, unless you're playing Edward Kim. But like just that extra, you don't realize until you're actually sitting there with 6 cards in hand how much it dilutes. And a legwork, instead of becoming a real threat, it's kind of, you're going to see half of these cards. I can probably survive you seeing half the cards and you not picking the agenda. But yeah,
I think when it first came out, I was sort of like, well, 6 cards isn't so bad, and now it's like, well, everyone's running well, not everyone's running legwork, but a lot of people are running legwork.
Yeah,
it's like, it's just more stuff to dilute, really.
So yeah, not only is the 6-card hand good, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll try it with the smaller deck size. Maybe that'll be quite good. And it was a fairly typical kind of fast advance-y type deck. I had the fast tracks and the biotic labors in there as well. I was also running the cheap ice like Paperwall and Quandary just to get the stuff up. Paperwall, I ummed and ahed about Paperwall for a little while when I was building the deck. But part of the reason I wanted to play The World Is Yours is like, I thought, I'm going to play with an identity I've never played before, in a style I've never played before, with cards I've never played before, and just try and use as many cards that I don't use as possible, because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I like to sit there not knowing how to play my deck and lose badly with it. But no, yeah, Biotic Labor, then fast tracking out an Asterisk script onto a Sansan is ridiculously expensive, but it's a really it feels like
totally
the machine
worth
is
it.
working. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, going back to Paper Wall, again, it's just, I'm going to run on that server. It's like, I'm going to resist for nothing, and you're going to have to find your barrier breaker now to get through this one strength piece of ice.
It's almost insulting, isn't it?
It's just funny. And same with Quandary as well. It's like, the number of times that Quandary has just been the bane of my life as a runner. It's just like, oh my god, that one... I mean, like I was saying before, like I am in love with Enigma. It goes in pretty much all my decks at the moment. Because I just think that the extra subroutine just makes it that tiny bit more taxing, and face checking it means they lose a click. But Quandary is equally fantastic. But the MVP of the deck, and I really think this needs to go into so many more decks, is Guard. And
Guard is amazing. But
I specifically went into the Tuesday night meet with one objective, is to shut down an inside job with Guard. And I did it in my first game, and I felt so good about it. It's like, now I get to score this agenda.
It really depends on your meta, though. It's the cannot be bypassed, really, is it? Because otherwise it's just a 2-strength sentry, and that's really not a lot to write home about. But the bypassing, it does screw with people. I've done it once before where I've had a face down guard and someone fem tokened it. I'm like, nope.
Oh, that's
You've just
perfect.
wasted your time. And then of course, they just broke through it with fem anyway. But still, there's a waste of a token for them.
Yeah. But no, Guard is really great, and I may try and squeeze it into more decks. But yeah, I shut down the inside job. Unfortunately, they had a fairy on the board as well, but they still had to waste a fairy to get through a Guard, which they failed to inside job. Which is just funny. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't manage to win with the deck. In my first game, I ended up with... My hand at one point was 3 Biotic Labours and 2 Fast Tracks. And just no economy. And I was so... wasn't seeing hedge funds, wasn't seeing sweeps, wasn't seeing my shipment from Sansan. Had all of my fast track tools, but no money to use them, and also no ice. So I was just destroyed very quickly. And then in my second game, I was ridiculously agenda flooded. I think I ended up with 3 agendas in my after I mulliganed. And I was really annoyed because I had 4 ice and 1 agenda in my opening hand, and I was like, I'm going to try and mulligan for some economy because I can't protect myself with the ice that I have. And then I just mulliganed so much worse. But still, being able to like do some ridiculous Astro Train, Biotic Labor, Fast Track bullshit is... it feels good, but I can see it's so annoying for the runner to feel so powerless. Like, okay, you've just spent your entire turn and scored an agenda. Next turn, you're probably going to do the same, and now we've lost. But no, it was fun enough, and I like Guard. Guard and Paper Wall were the 2 cards that I'm really glad I put in the end, and made me appreciate them in a whole new way. But yeah, runner side, I went back to Leela actually. I've kind of put Max aside put Max aside for a little bit because I wanted to try someone a little bit different who I enjoyed Leela when she was released. From the moment she was first used on me, and they bounced like a 2 advanced agenda back into my hand, I was like, "Oh, this is an interesting ID." But yeah, I've been playing it with no event recursion like I used to. I've got 2 indexing in there instead, so I can. But I do run Logos, so I can go find what I need when I need it, which is just Logos is such a good console.
It is. It really is.
Like 1 memory, an extra card in your hand, and you can go find stuff when the corpse scores. It's just brilliant. I love Logos so much. But yeah, the deck is really reliant on Katie and Mr. Lee. So if I can get those really early, I can just start accruing money every turn, start cycling through my deck to find the cards I need. Breaker-wise, it's kind of Corroder for the barriers, and then Passport and Rex for any code gates, and then Sentry-wise, it's got a couple of fairies, a Garrote for any big annoying sentries, and a Mimic for any small sentries. And it's doing pretty well. I've not managed to win with it yet, but I keep coming really close. And I had the best game with it on Tuesday because it was coming down to the wire, and I was playing against a Replicating Perfection deck because who isn't playing Replicating Perfection these days?
If they're not doing that, they're playing bloody Nero Hub.
But they installed Advanced, gained a credit, and they were on 5 points. I was like, that is absolutely a Nisei in there. I think I'd stolen a Nisei and a clone retirement at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, right. It was Chum Tsurugi protection over their R&D. I think it was 7 credits to get through it all without destroying myself. I was like, there's no way I'm getting into that server, which is 3 ice deep, and 2 of those ice are chum into Toll Booth. So that's not going to happen.
It's just upsetting.
Especially when I didn't have my Rex because it had been discarded by net damage earlier, and the other one cycled to the bottom of my deck with Mr. Lee. It's like, right, let's just run let's run R&D. I had an R&D interface out as well, so I was seeing 2 cards. It's like, let's do it. Let's. I might as well. I don't think they have anything in their hand. Let's do it. And I paid my 7 credits. I got through, and I took another clone retirement. I was like, okay, let's bounce this one advanced card back into HQ then. To which the court player was incredibly annoyed that I just postponed them from winning. But I was like, yeah, cool, Leela's doing her thing. So then on the next turn, the corp put the agenda, I assume it was the agenda again because they wanted to win, back into the server, advanced it, and took another credit. I was like, okay, right. I got really, really lucky last time by pulling that agenda. Obviously, they'd drawn the top card with their mandatory draw, so I was going to see 2 fresh cards. It's like, I might as well run again. They're gonna win the game, but the only downside this time was I was on no credits because I'd blown my load getting through the Chum Tsurugi on the last turn.
That's a horrible mental image. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
I got through the Chum Tsurugi. Oh.
And we did it. So
together.
So what I did was I spent my turn drawing up to 6 cards because that's how much net damage I was going to take.
Bloody hell.
And then on my last click, I ran it. Discarded my entire hand.
That's my boy.
Of 6 cards. I think the top card was a Jackson Howard. And I was like, oh my god, okay, this is probably a game. Next card was a Nisei. I was like, I'll take that, thank you very much. Put that in my score area. Bounce their agenda back into their hand for the second time. They were like, oh my god, how are you doing this? But the only downside to that was like it put me to 6 points, which made me very happy. But it's like there's absolutely no way I can get back into R&D now. Like I don't have enough to draw up to 6 cards to get through that again. I don't have enough to get to 7 credits to get through that again. I can't get into to HQ. Archives is locked down, so I can't sneak door in. It's like it's over now. But my two incredibly lucky runs to see 2 agendas to bounce their just to postpone them scoring was just fantastic. This game of just ping pong of just bouncing things back that they wanted to score was just funny, and I'm really having fun with Leela and just being able to take. It's also really good for against personal evolution because I managed to someone motioned out a card. And I was like, okay, that looks dangerous. So then I think I ran on their hand, pulled an agenda, and bounced the Mushin card back. I was like, oh, God. Okay, that's probably not a threat anymore. it's so good. Like, as much as it's beneficial to bounce ice back, it is just so much more fun to bounce advanced cards back because the corp is wasting so much more resource to reinstall and advance it again.
Yeah, it's just I do love the game in terms of the psychological aspects, as I keep banging on about, but there is a small devastation that comes into a player's eyes, being like, "Oh, it's cool, you've advanced this twice, it's fine, go back into your hand now," and then just to do it again a second time, it's like, "For God's sake, will you just leave me alone?" It's like it's the constant ping of meat damage and things like that. Like I do it when I had near Thabat, and I just thought, I'm just playing this for fun. I'll just res 1 DRT, and they were just like, I can't. And they ran the DRT, and I resed another one. They're like, balls, right? And then I resed another one when they ran that one. I was like, I'm just constantly pinging them. Like, will you stop, please? I'm begging you, stop. I'm not enjoying this anymore.
But I had the greatest This is the most recent. Just oh my god, that is the best move that I've seen. Is I was playing against Blue Sun with my Leela deck, which is hilarious because they want to res cards and pull them back, and I want to keep them unres and send them back.
Yeah.
So that whole thing is just funny for the first in the first place. But yeah, they were always very insistent about pulling cards back. I was like, that's that's quite a Blue Sun thing, but even to the extent where they pulled an ice wall back.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a strange
That's
move.
weird.
You don't really need one credit. I know you were 2 ice over R&D, but to pull one away seems really strange. But the reason they did that was apparent in a second when they installed a card into a remote server that was, I think, 2 ice deep and advanced it. I was like, oh, this could be they're trying to overscore the Atlas. So I was like, I'll head over there now. I've probably got enough to break through everything. Let's go for it. So I ran at the server. They didn't res the first card, which I was like, okay, are we heading into trap territory now? And then the next card they resed was a Mother Goddess. I was like, that's why you've been pulling back every single piece of ice that you've had out on the board, because you wanted to destroy me like that. I just like, I think I just like did a small kind of. It's just like, you got like this. I'm not getting through that now. Like, as long as you res nothing else for the rest of the game, you have a secure scoring server.
oh man! I just remembered. I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
I was playing online. I did indeed throw down a flare.
Yeah.
And then
Did you wormhole it?
I wormholed it.
Oh, you beautiful bastard!
The wormhole was behind the flare. He's like, "What are you racing?" He's like, the guy who just texted me is like, "Who runs flares?" Like, watch this. Boom! It's like, I think I went on to lose, but I was like, it was completely worth it for that.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, it's such a good move.
I've just felt kind of mean afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, well, it was good. Anyway, that's probably enough talking about the things we've been running. I mean, we are nearly at time anyway.
That's what happens when we take a month off to talk about Order and Chaos.
Oh, God. The stories we could tell. It's going to be the next few things. Did we want to talk about a specific subject this week?
Yeah, let's have about 10-15 minutes of this, because this is something I want to talk about for a good while now, because it's a good while old at this point.
Go for it.
But teaching Netrunner. So on a Tuesday, as is customary for Tuesday night meets, I brought my decks with me to work, and I think a new data pack had just come out, because I was thumbing through the cards, which I don't usually do at my desk. And one of my...
Boss, who's listening?
I don't secretly just tap away on NetDeck underneath my desk on my iPad. Shh.
I mean, I just do it on my screen. No one bothers me.
But no, a couple of my coworkers came over, and they were like, "Oh, what's this?" Because a few we're doing the board game nights as frequently as we can. Actually, no, I really slight tangent. Played Last Night on Earth, and I was one of the 4 human survivors, and the other 2 were playing the role of the zombie horde. And my guy was the sheriff, and so the first zombie I killed was a little way away. I did it with my pistol, which I start the game with. I was like, yeah, I'm a rootin' tootin' sheriff. I'm going to be like the linchpin of this game. I'm going to keep the zombies from coming. And we
You immediately died?
I didn't know. Even worse than that. For the rest of the game, I rolled nothing but misses.
Oh, dude.
It's a 1 or a 2 for the sheriff, and you miss. But if it's a 1, you also lose the gun. But I was constantly rolling 2s, so I never lost the gun. So we came up with this elaborate backstory that I'm this drunken lout of a sheriff who has lost his aim so badly because of the drinking. But he was so worried about losing his gun, he duct taped it to his hand, so it's just permanently on there. But I did manage to get because the scenario was kill 15 zombies, and I'm luckily I hadn't killed anyone else in the entire game, but the last shot I took killed the final zombie, and we won, which was just fantastic. But yeah, so obviously as we've been doing the board game nights, people have been getting more and more interested in board games. So they were, oh, what have you brought with you today? It's like, oh, it's just my Netrunner cards. I go Tuesday nights. Do you want to have a look at them? I kind of gave them a brief overview of one person plays the runner, one person plays the corporation, and the corporation's trying to sneak out their agendas.
I kind of, even from the very beginning, explaining that to someone is kind of troubling.
Yeah.
Triggering. Sorry, I have been drinking beer. It's kind of troubling.
Yeah.
It's just, if you're not invested in the theme immediately, you can kind of go, oh, that sounds weird.
Yeah.
Because I've been teaching friends and people for a long time. Hell, I taught you. I mean, badly, but I still taught you. But the crux of it kind of comes down to just being as enthusiastic as possible, I think. So, right, so look, One of you is this corporation. They're not necessarily evil, but they're certainly up to no good. And the other one is a hacker. Well, he's not a hacker. He's a runner, because hackers are in the employ of corporate. And just going off on one like that. And I've said that 3 or 4 times, and people just kind of sit wide-eyed at me going, this sounds really interesting. Like, oh, it gets even better because you're not playing the same game.
You're playing 2 different games at the same time. And that the asynchronous nature of the game is what hooked my coworkers. They're like, oh, so one person's doing that and then the other person's doing that. And I was like, yeah, and then afterwards you swap over and so you reverse the roles. And they're like, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, yeah, and the runner can't see anything that the corporation's doing, it's all face down. But the corporation can see pretty much everything the runner's doing because it's all face up. I'm like, okay. It's those little things of, oh, well, why is that? Why can the corporation see everything the runner's doing? It's like, why, it's the kind of the world they live in. It's all, and I kind of explaining the theme, and they one of the things that actually hooked them was the art on the cards, and they were just going like, oh wow, that's a really cool card. It's like, yeah, this is this is the corporation. This is their identity. This is who they are. This is the building.
This is Hasbro. They're the German automobile of this world.
It's all about efficiency. And they got hooked.
They even have a committee dedicated to efficiency.
But yeah, so the art drew them in, which is great. The idea of the secrecy of the game drew them in. And then on a subsequent board game night that we had, I brought the teaching decks, which were the demo decks that Fantasy Flight sent out to stores for the store owners to kind of go, oh, so you're interested in Netrunner? Here's like a small deck to use. And I've got to say, I quite like them because when you were teaching me when I first got the course set after we had our long weekend in London, it was really overwhelming of kind of, oh,
it's not good. The way it was first put together in the original decks is like just put Jinteki versus Shaper and just put all the cards in the core set against all the cards. It's just like, but there are so many in there that it's just tricky.
Yeah,
because you're kind of having to stop and explain.
Yeah, it's like with Snare, it's like, oh, you've got a tag. Well, what does a tag do? It's like, well, how do I get rid of a tag?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I? Why could I just keep the tag? And then traces, and it's like, oh, so.
I think it's the tracing more than anything.
The tracing
and the tags, because tags I'm not such a big problem with, because like the easy explanation for that is like, well, I've tagged you, so I know exactly where you are in the world. I'm like, what does that mean? It's like, well, it means I can do horrible things to you.
Yeah.
So you might want to think about clearing it, or not. It depends if you're a brave runner. And then they're like, I'm a brave runner. It's like, oh, but do you want to be a brave runner? That's the question. Because bravery gets you killed very quickly in this world.
But yeah, it's very much true. Yeah, being brash and brazen will get you killed.
But yeah, murdered faster than anything else.
But the decks that I'll give you a quick rundown of what they are in case you're not familiar with the content. They're on the Jinteki Personal Evolution side. You have 3 Pyrex, 3 Nisei Mark IIs, and 1 Unorthodox Predictions. You have 3 Hedge Funds, 1 Restructure, 2 Trick of Lights, and 2 Neural EMPs. You have 2 Melange, 2 Private Contracts, 2 Snare, and 2 June Bugs. And then Ice-wise, you have 3 Wall of Thorns, 2 Bastions, 2 Wall of Statics, 3 Enigmas, 3 Chums, and 3 Neural Katanas. The runner is Kate, and they are playing with 3 Sure Gambles, 2 Modded, 2 Freelance Coding Contract, which I really didn't understand why that was in there, if I'm honest.
No, it's a crap card.
Well, no, especially for learning, it's all of a sudden you're teaching people to throw away their programs. But
yeah, it's just like, I mean, I would rather have Aesops in there personally.
It runs. It's got 2 Maker's Eye, 2 Infiltration. It also runs 1 Proco, 1 Aesops, 1 Ice Analyzer, 2 Armitage, 2 Public Sympathy, 3 Akamatsu Men Chips, 2 Magnum Opus, 1 Net Shield, 2 Battering Ram, 2 Pipeline, and 2 Gordian Blade. And that rounds off what the Shaper's running. And I agree with most of the inclusions in these approved kind of demo decks. Freelance Coding is a really odd one because trying to explain that to Charlene was, well, you could probably get rid of that card because you already have it installed. You already have like your pipeline installed, so you could probably throw that one away if you really want to. It's like, okay, and then get me like two money. I was like, yeah, I'll get you 2 money, and it's a bit odd. And Restructure as well, I think is a bit of an odd choice for a money card for the corporation because it's quite a high barrier to entry of getting to 10 credits.
Yeah,
if you're learning, money's a bit tricky when you're learning because you don't really know how to balance it.
Whereas you see, because I built my cheating decks before they released the official teaching decks.
Yeah.
So a lot of mine is I don't like the team of Jinteki. I put Wayland versus Shaper.
Yeah.
So I think that's a much more. Thematically, it's much nicer for them because it's like, all right, Wayland is this massive multi-corporation conglomerate, awful. They're clearly awful people, and Shapers are the good guys, and everyone wants to be the good guys. Everyone wants to be no one wants to be the bad guys unless you're me. But I put in things like Oversight AI and heavy things, but only I put in the Enigmas and the Ice Walls and things like that. But I put in Oversight AIs and Archers and like one-cost agendas just to kind of teach them the idea of thinking about what they've got in front of them.
Yeah.
And then on the Shaper side, people always seem weird. People think I'm weird when I do this, but I put in Woman in the Red Dress because, it makes you think about. It's just an example of things in the game. And I put in things like Inti as well because it's an alright it's an alright breaker.
Yeah,
and just good. Like it's if you've I mean there are better ones obviously, but if you're looking for a fractor, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Woman in the Red Dress I love because it's like people look at you and go, what does this mean? I'm like, well, read it through. Okay, like, I can just look at this like, yeah. And I look at it and go, I think I'm going to leave that there. And they're like, why would you leave that there? It's like, well, maybe you should run and see. And like, but I don't want to. It's like, well, that's your choice, isn't it? And I just like making them think because I've lost my fair share of training games just because it's either been poor draw on my part or I've wanted them to win just to kind of because I always play. I think it's always important to play as a teacher. Play corp first.
Yes, absolutely, because you can see all the run and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that. For Charlene's teaching game, I played the Jinteki and she played Shaper, and she had a hand face up as well, so I could see what was in there and kind of advise her on what to play and
things like that. I mean, I always say beforehand, like I deal out cards in front of them and say, okay, so this is the anatomy of a run, which is it's difficult to get a head around on the first run, so that's why I do it separate to the game.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, so you've got this breaker, I've got this ice, so this is what happens. First you encounter this, you if it's not the first piece of ice, you choose whether you encounter it. And like, okay, well I will go. I was like, cool, flip it, this is what happens. I pay this much money and the trigger's like this, and then like you've got this thing that can break it, so use that. And yeah, you get through and you get to access the card if you want to. And then look at it and go, yeah, cool, alright, I'll steal that. And like, okay, that's the main point of the game.
Yeah.
Everything else is just set up for that.
One thing I found really important and also really worked really well was for when I was getting Charlene to use the icebreakers was to put the money she was spending on the icebreakers on the card. That way she could see, kind of understand this transaction of money. And especially when I played a hedge fund, I'd always remove the 5 credits from my credit pool first and then pull in 9 credits. Being like, I'm not just netting 4. It's like I'm showing her how the transaction is working.
I pay 5. I take
I take 9. But no, it went well. I was trying to, not trying to let her win, but obviously going easy on her to try and make it a more enjoyable experience. And I scored out an early agenda to kind of say, this is you didn't run, you were kind of sitting back and getting some money, and this kind of I scored my agenda because you weren't running and you didn't test my defenses. And then she started running because she kind of got the idea. It's like, oh, so I don't want you to score that stuff. Great, and now I'll start checking things. It's like, good, right? That's really it. It's like you don't want me to have this, so therefore you need to look in my stuff.
Yeah.
But the only thing was I'd only drawn barriers, so I had like a wall of thorns and a bastion out. But Charlene had not drawn into a battering ram yet, so she got her Guardian Blade and a pipeline down. So she had no way of getting through my barriers. It's just like I can't help her to win if she doesn't have the breaker. So I'm like, okay, right, we need to keep drawing. Like she had professional contacts out, so I was like, all right, okay, you keep drawing and you get some money. You keep drawing and get some money. That's a really good way of doing it. You don't have to be using your magnum opus to get money. You can kind of get through your deck and get money at the same time. And it came down to the wire of like I can't just not play cards. I'm gonna have to do things because she's not getting her battering ram. There's one wall of thorns keeping her out of this server. I'm gonna have to just start scoring. So I scored an Orthodox predictions, and I think I scored a Nisei to put me onto 6 points, and then I was like, all right, okay, and I put something in, and I advanced it once for like the final agenda. It's like we're just gonna have to end this game now because everyone else is upstairs waiting for us to start last night on Earth. And she drew into a battering ram as the first card. I was like, okay, now this is where it gets interesting. Because I also had a face down Newell katana in front of that because like I was showing her like I can keep my defenses up, and so I was like, all right, you want to install your battering ram? It's like, okay, so odds are, because I'd shown her about trashing like a melange and stuff like that, it's like deny me money kind of thing. Again, which is important to show her how to stop
the
me
trashing
from winning.
and
Yeah. Like I need this card for money, therefore you don't want me to have this card. So I was like, okay, so this is going to be an agenda because I don't have any advanceable things in here really except June bugs, so maybe it's a June bug, but let's assume it's an agenda. I was like, so really what you want to do now, you've installed your battering ram, just get some money and run. And she did, and so I kind of resin your katana to try and keep her out. She had a pipeline out, so she got through it. She encountered the wall of thorns, and she had exactly the right amount of credits to break it and take the agenda. I was like, and that actually, because I think I'd sacrificed like a prior record or something like that earlier for her, and I was like, and that won her the game, and she got, so it's up to 6 points, sorry, instead of up to 7.
Yeah,
so I think she got a prior record in Orthodox Predictions, and I got the same on my side. And yeah, it's like, so this is like literally this came down to a single credit. This is like, and you won the game. Like I wasn't even trying to go like completely easy on you, and it just she by that point it was like, oh my god. So if I'd have been like one move less, I'd have had that 1 credit less, and then I wouldn't have got into that, and you'd have won. And it's like that wide-eyed moment of, oh my god, like this literally came down to the last click in the game, and like. This is awesome, and so yeah, she's gonna get herself the core set when payday comes around next. But yeah, we got another convert, so I think I did a good enough job teaching her. But it was
I'd say so.
The lessons that I definitely took were just play it slowly, but don't go easy on them.
Yeah,
like don't let them. It sounds kind of harsh, but don't let them win. Let them
win
it,
occasionally, but you really have to ramp it up. Like I'm not really a fan of putting things in like snare, but I see the need for having it in there because it's like, okay, you run, well this could be anything, you know.
Yeah.
There are trap cards, they're like, oh well, you know, what do they do? It's like, well they remove cards from your hand. Oh, what does that matter? It's like, well if you run out of cards in your hand and I can't take any more cards from your hand, you're dead. So imagine your hand of cards like your life bar.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. And then it's like, well, what can happen? It's like, well, let's run into this. And he hits a snare and like, okay, so I know where you are. And you take all this damage. You're like, oh, cool. Well, what does this mean? Well, it means I can do this, and it's sort of like closed accounts. It's like, I'm sorry. It's like, okay, fine. And it's one of the reasons. Like recently, I've been discussing because I've been trying to get people at work into playing it as well. Discussing the interest in putting in the teaching decks in the draft deck characters and identities.
Yeah. Oh, Mask and Shadow.
Yeah, just because it means you can put in a lot more interesting cards.
Oh, I quite like that.
And
idea,
you can
actually.
explain around influence, and I think maybe it's a second or third teaching game kind of thing. But I mean, there was one published recently which had so the stuff like accelerated beta testers in there, and then AstroScript and Project Beal and all the things that explain what they do, and then it comes with stuff like Adonis Campaign and Jackson, which is always good to explain what Jackson Howard does.
This is Jackson. You'll see him in every single deck.
Everyone runs this. But interesting things like Mental Health Clinic, which is a card that, again, it makes you think. It's like, oh, cool. Well, I get an extra card, but you get more money, and that's not a good thing. And do I run on that? And the answer is, of course you run on it and get rid of it. It's dumb to have it out on the board because you don't need that extra hand size. And so, you throw out Biotic Labour and AstroScript, like, what is this? What happened? Like, oh, I just scored this immediately from my hand. It's like, that's a thing? Like, oh yeah, that's a thing, and you'll see it a lot. So maybe it's a second, third kind of a teaching deck kind of game thing, just having all the cards and like showing them, okay, this is a Lotus Field, you can't do anything to this. This is a Hadrian's Wall. This is an awful, awful thing. This is, or one of my favourite things I ever did was trying to explain a wraparound thematically. So your card, right? This thing is great up until I have the tools to get rid of it, and then it's useless. And I'm like, yeah, but once you've got the tools to get rid of it, it's kind of useless anyway. It's like, but why is that useful? Why is that good for you? It's like, well, because until then it only cost me 2 credits
to keep you out.
2 space bucks to get out. That's what I took to calling it that when I was teaching Mike. Like, these are space bucks. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, you're just the credits, but you won't remember credit. But space bucks, you'll remember.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, and on the runner side, things, you're running things like Inside Job to show that, and Parasite, obviously, because this is something you'll probably build your deck around. And of course Boxy's in there because Boxy.
Yes.
This is one of my new things I've decided for this year is that every runner deck I'm gonna try and work a Boxy into it because it's the most underrated console that is phenomenal.
I think it's great. I'm with you on this.
No one rates it. It's like, oh, but wouldn't it be better to have like Deep Red? I'm like, no, because it's just one more memory. It's like, oh, what about? I mean, don't get me wrong. If I could, I'd be running Monolith. But that's a stupid thing that stupid people do.
That's for a very specific deck.
I don't actually know there's a deck built around that yet.
Well, there's one that's rated really highly on Netrunner DB called Little Girls Play with Monoliths, I think.
Oh yeah, cool. Little girls play with big toys. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
something like that. But it's just funny. I like the thing that bugs me about it is the trash your program from your grip, prevent 1 brain or net damage.
Yeah.
Like, you've not really prevented it. You've just kind of chosen what you're getting rid of.
Well, kind of, but you might... Well, for the net damage, yeah, you have full control of what you're losing. But for the brain damage, it's like, I take this temporary loss of a card, and then I'm not crippled for the rest of the game, so...
But yeah, I really do... Again, I love Monolith, and I kind of want to just... Every deck I want to put it in and just... I'll put in 2 Boxies and a Monolith.
Oh my God.
See... Because there's been a point when I've been playing where I've had something like 24 credits. I'm like, if only I had my Monolith now.
Well, what you could do is...
it's like, you save up, throw your Monolith down, and then immediately play all 3 Ice Breakers you can need. Like, right, you can't keep me out at all. Run.
And then if you get tired of that, you use trade-in. Trade the Monolith in for a Boxy for late game.
Yeah. That's the dumbest thing in the world. I love it. Why haven't I thought about this?
There's your deck.
I'm going to have to try and do... right, this is... Again, if anyone's listening to this, if they can come up with a way of working in a Monolith Boxy deck... if not, right, I'm coming next time and I'm bringing my Monolith trade-in Boxy deck. Which is just... That's so stupid. It's like, okay, cool. Get rid of the Monolith, 9 credits. This is my Boxy. Install it. Like, what happened? It's like, firmware updates.
You'd lose 1 MU with doing the trade-in as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would. Like, but then my hand size gotten bigger. It's like, okay, come on.
Yeah, it's true.
So that'd be the first turn, right? Trade-in, Boxy, draw, and then just when if they tag you, and you're just like, all right, I need to just get more cards.
I love the idea that Monolith is so expensive to get out, and then you're just willing to trade it in later. It's just like, no, I'm done with this now. It will protect me against net and
I'm
meat
bored
damage,
of this machine. It's like, what happened? Well, it was taking up a lot of power, so I decided to just Boxy it.
Oh my God! I think on that note.
Sorry, I don't know why that's made me chuckle so much.
No, I'm loving the image as well. Cool. So yeah,
it's just like walking into Ace Ups. It's like, hey, do you take trade-ins? Yeah, sure. And you're like, well, there's a truck out back with a Monolith in it. Oh, okay. I guess I can give you 9 credits. Like, 9 credits? You're kidding me.
Can buy a Boxy and have 5 change.
I'm curious at one point, and this is just something that is working in my head, and we can cut this from the podcast, right? Do you think, because the text on every console is very specific.
Yeah, limit 1 console per player.
1 console per player. Now I'm curious, right, whether A, you think you'll be able to put together multiple runner versus corp decks as an interesting experiment. So, say, okay, well, now we're playing Shaper versus Wayland, but okay, this is going to be 2 Shapers versus 1 Wayland deck. Wayland gets double the amount of clicks on his turn, and the Shapers get, 1 turn each.
Yeah. Kind of like a two-headed giant type.
Or at some point, do you think that they might be releasing consoles for the Corp?
See, I don't know with that, because some of the... I honestly don't know with that. Like,
or do you think at one point there'll be like a console that's like limit 2 consoles per player? Like,
maybe...
Okay. That you put in 2 smaller consoles.
Maybe it's a resource where you can have 2 consoles plugged into that one console.
Maybe. Just as a thought,
because it is confusing wording. Because this kind of fits back in with the teaching. Because when I first started playing, I was like, oh, so I can only have 1 console in my deck. Then I can only have 1 copy of my toolbox in my deck.
Whereas actually, it's like, no, that's not
Because I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head now. I'm going to have to go grab one of my decks, but I can't remember if the consoles have the diamond on them.
They do.
Card. They do.
They are unique, yeah.
So even that, because it's a unique card, so therefore you can't have any other console of that name out. Oh yeah, then I suppose it would stop you having like a Desperado and a Doppelganger out at the same time.
But it would stop you having 2 boxes out, because it's like, I suppose that's to get around it saying, well, I have only got 1 console. I've just got 2 of that 1 console.
Oh yeah,
maybe
that's probably the reason why. Then because otherwise it's I have a console. There's just 2 or 3 of them now.
Yeah.
That must be why. But no, it's an interesting thought. But again, it goes back to like there's so many things in Netrunner which are just so confusing for new players, and it's really good because we have one thing about the meta here is that we're always getting new people in, and we had a guy come last week, and I think he'd only been 1 week before that. And it's just kind of showing him like the crazy decks that we've all built, and he's just like, okay, now that I've not got all the data packs, but he's doing a really cool way where he's kind of buying them kind of one at a time, and then having like a few weeks with that data pack, and then buying the next one, and just kind of practicing with each of the cards.
But it's the right way to do it. I mean, that's
absolutely.
how we did it.
Yeah,
there's no way to get back on top of a meta than starting at the beginning and very slowly ramping up. It's like, okay, I understand these cards now. Let's get on the next set.
Well, I did it in a slightly worse way, because I
ordered everything.
I just had the core set, and then I ordered all of the Genesis cycle, creation and control, and then the first 2 packs of the spin cycle. So Malatempora was the first one I bought as it was released. So this is why I think I was saying this to someone at the Tuesday night. I was like, in my head, basically all of the Genesis cycle is the core set for me. Like, I still think of Eli as a core set card, because I started playing with it as I started playing the game.
I do as well, really. They came out fairly quickly after I got the core set, you see, because I got into it very early. But also, that's a very weird thing to explain to someone. Like, when I was at the tournament, they're like, how long have you been playing? It's like, oh, since the beginning. It's like, oh, so you're pretty good then? I'm like, not really. I don't play very often. Not as often as I'd like, anyway.
Yeah. Have you got any closing thoughts on teaching decks then, or on how the best ways to teach new players?
Stack the deck. I always do that on the first game.
Yeah.
Give them a loaded deck. Okay, so this is, you put in something, magnum opus. What does this card do? Okay, well, this is a money card. Okay, well, I'll put this down and I'll start gaining money. Then it's like, I don't know, some events, maybe Akamatsu Menchits. The cards are always useful, but then you kind of scatter the breakers through the deck.
Yeah.
And kind of go, okay, this is how it is. This is how it works. And inevitably, they'll kind of come out and go, okay, I understand now. It's like, all right, shuffle the decks, and then hand me your deck, because we play like gentlemen. Shuffle, go. And then they're like, but I don't... In fact, is it the Shut Up and Sit Down video of Matt Lees playing Quentin Smith, where it's like, I'll take 2. Oh wait, no, I don't have.
Yes, it's that video.
It's like, I don't have that this time. Like, yes, this is true. So maybe you should go looking for it.
No, I think I agree that maybe I should have stacked Charlene's deck, because like both her battering rams are right at the bottom of the deck, and it's like, I mean, that's the way it is sometimes. But for a first experience, it's like you want to kind of show them like, this is the rig. This is kind of, you almost want to start the game at the late game and kind of show them like everything's set up.
Well, that's why I do the anatomy of a run first. I'm like, okay, so put these cards in front of you. Click, 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 click. And it's like, all right, so this is your rig. What's a rig? Everything in front of you. Okay, cool. What's my grip? That's your hand. See, it makes sense. What's the trash? What do you think the trash is? Discard pile? Yep. And I was like, okay, and then this is archives, this is HQ, this is R&D. What's what? He's like, okay, well, HQ is probably your hand. Like, yep. And then put my hand down, and then go through like that. Like, all right, anatomy of a run. You've got this rig. I've got this server. What's a server? Okay. And it just goes from there. And it's being patient because we spend a lot of time dealing with god-awful rules. And they are. I mean, they're really badly written in the the rule book. And for a lot of the starter set, everyone who plays Netrunner has the same stories of, oh, I realised I've been playing that wrong the entire time. And I'm just as guilty, because I was just like, I can't remember what it was I was playing. I was like, oh, wait, no, I've read that completely wrong.
I was going to say, even recently with a dedicated response team, and us both playing that wrong for a little while.
It's a shame, because the way we played it was better.
Oh, yeah, it's much more dangerous.
Yeah, it does just mean you'll win 100% of the time as opposed to
yeah, but it's that thing of like when the run is successful rather than when the run ends that we were getting confused with. It's just like because we just assumed that it's all happening at the end. You're successful and it's finished, but it's like no, you're successful. There are cards, then you finish the run. Which is why there's the crazy things with. Which is why I was playing security testing wrong a little while ago because I was like, I'll security test this remote server and use my bank job. It's like, no, they're both replacement effects. Fuck, right? I need a dirty laundry. That'll help. Really complicated things like that. So I think that's possibly the best thing is to. I think what would be even better is to have potentially two new people playing each other with like a coach. But I still think you piloting the corporation and explaining it. And then them seeing, kind of playing the runner, and then seeing how you play as the corp rather, and then going, I want to try that now. That what you were doing looks interesting. I want to try that. It's like, okay, cool. Now swap over.
I think the issue with having a coach is the same as when I'm trying to teach board games to people, and they're like, "Oh, just let me play it." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." But I end up. It's the same reason I dislike playing Pandemic, because I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
So all it does, it just takes a little bit for you to kind of just be telling them what to do. And that's never a good thing to do in Netrunner.
Actually, that's a very good point. That's one thing I always made sure to say when I was teaching is I'd explain everything they could do and say, now what would you like to do?
Yeah.
Never what do you think you should do? It's always what would you like to do? I was very careful with the wording. It's just like kind of let's avoid should, because that implies that there's
could do, yeah,
everything there's something that you definitely should be doing. So what do you want? You can do anything you want this turn. You can just gain money if you want. You could run on everything. What would you like to do? Go for it. I think that's definitely a thing to bear in mind as well. Just let them make their own decisions and. Be patient, like you said, is definitely the big one, because God knows it's taken us a long time to get to where we are with the game.
And I'm not the most patient person, but still, it's a very good game, and thankfully a lot of the people playing are pretty good and kind of friendly and nice. And then the next thing to do, I think after that, the only thing to do after that is tell them to go and play. And because I've done that with my friends, said, right, you've been playing against me an awful lot. Go and find someone else to play against, because it's really not helpful just to play against one person.
Yeah, go out there, see what people are building, be inspired, see the crazy things they're putting together, and think, I want to do something like that.
Yeah,
because that's what it comes down to. It's the end. It's finding something you're like finding a corporation and a runner you kind of are interested in, seeing the crazy things people are doing with them, and then all of a sudden going, I wonder if I could do something like that. Maybe I should start putting those cards together.
Maybe I should build a complete Tagstorm horrible deck. And on that note,
maybe I could make Monolith work in this trade-in boxy
no
deck
one
I've
can
made.
Or the worst thing, maybe I can get Woodcutter to work. And the answer is no, it will never work. That's all for this week. Thank you very much for listening.
We'll be back next week with our Woodcutter Monolith decks.
Oh man, I think I might have to put a Woodcutter deck together now.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll say the end of the show things. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you for your continued kind words and comments. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can usually comment on our Reddit threads for the episode posts, or email us at nerdrunnerspodcast@gmail.com. Bye!
Oh, I point out that I have been drinking. I should point that out, and it might hit me midway through. So if I get a bit kooky, have like a safe word, like sassafrats or something like that.
Horse and pfeffer.
Horse and pfeffer. Horse and pfeffer. I think that's probably something I'll say.